Hey, Lee and Maria Herrera, please unmute and turn on your camera so we can begin your hearing.
Yes, sir.
Do you both swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are here in a petition to establish the parent-child relationship. We did have a DNA testing done. I'm going to check to see if the results are on file. Okay, yes. I'd ask the court to take judicial notice of the DNA results on file.
So noted, I see that.
Okay, and we have an agreement, I believe, as to everything except for visitation. So I'll read the agreements into the record. We are establishing that Mr. Lee is the biological father of the child, Caitlin, and that Caitlin's last name will be changed to Herrera-Lee. Mr. Lee is not employed right now, and he has 2 other children, so we're basing support on minimum wage. This gives us child support of $178 per month and medical support of $37 per month. There is also an agreement for 24 months of retroactive child support, or excuse me, let me reread that. Okay, yes, it is a total of 24 months for retroactive child support, partially calculated on his prior income and partially calculated on minimum wage, for a total of $6,693. Mr. Lee's agreed to pay that off at $83 per month. Parties are in agreement to be appointed as joint managing conservators. The state calls the mother Ms. Herrera. Will you state your name?
Maria Herrera.
And what's the child's name in this case?
Caitlin Herrera.
And DNA testing was done, correct?
Yes.
And what were the results of that test?
Positive
Positive for who?
for Jimmy Lee.
And did you hear the agreements that I just read out into the record?
I did.
Do you still agree with those terms?
I can say I agree and I disagree.
What specifically do you not agree to?
As far as him not working, I don't know if he's lying or not. I do know he worked. From what I knew that he worked for his partner's construction job, which is his wife, for her father.
And when's the last time you know that he worked there?
As of last year. No,
Okay.
yes, last year or when I was pregnant. I'm not sure, to be honest.
And do you know how much he was making at that job?
I do not.
Okay. And do you believe he could still be working there right now?
Yes.
Okay. And why do you think he's still working there?
Because I have a mutual friend, and if he's able to buy a new home, a Tesla for himself, a Jeep for his wife, and go on vacations and stuff, I'm pretty sure he has a job when he has a partner and 2 other kids. So
And do you
no
have
one can do that without.
Do you have any idea of what his income is?
I don't.
Okay.
I haven't had any communication with him.
Okay. Has there been any family violence in the last 2 years between you and Mr. Lee?
No, I have not seen him or spoke to him for over 2 years.
Okay. Do y'all not get along when you do communicate?
Well, the thing is, ever since we split up, I didn't have a vehicle at the time, and I asked him for help to get a vehicle to get back and forth to job. We used to work at the same with the same employer. He didn't want to help me, so I was pregnant at the time. I was about 3 months going on 4. I lost my job for that reason because I couldn't get to work. Um, and then I had COVID while pregnant and I had a car accident. I asked him for help. He didn't want to help. He never bothered to ask whether I was good with the pregnancy, whether a child was born or anything.
So,
So-
Ms. Herrera, do you think that if you and Mr. Lee had to communicate about the needs of your child, you could do that together?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you think if you and Mr. Lee had to communicate together about your child, that you could do that with him?
That would be hard. That would be hard to say.
Okay. So do you still agree to be appointed a joint managing conservator, meaning you do communicate with the father about the child?
I'm sorry, you cut off.
Are you still in agreement to be a joint managing conservator, meaning you and Mr. Lee will communicate together?
Yes.
And what kind of visitation do you want Mr. Lee to have with your daughter?
To be honest, speaking as a mother, for someone that has never cared for the child whatsoever in the past, she will be 2 tomorrow. I don't, even if it sounds selfish, I don't see why he should have right to visitation. When I told him I was at the hospital with COVID and all of that, and he's never bothered to ask. I don't see why he should have the right for visitation for that matter, since he's never cared or even bothered to ask for her.
And
So if anything,
Ms.
if
Herrera,
anything, I
so
would,
since she was born, has Mr. Lee ever had her by himself?
no,
Okay, and so
He's
that
never even
includes
seen
no
her.
overnights,
no.
and he's never seen
If
her.
he's never seen her.
Okay. Do you think that if the court ordered a phased-in schedule where the visits would start small and increase over time, you'd be in agreement to that?
Not really.
Do you believe that if your daughter's with Mr. Lee, without you there, that your daughter could be in danger?
Not in danger, but he wouldn't be welcome in their home, and I feel like they wouldn't treat her as she deserves to be treated as his daughter, because to begin with, his wife, which was his wife when I was with him, and his baby mama, because she was pregnant with his child whenever we were together, and he was denying that child then, and he denied my child before she was even born. And she doesn't like me. She even tried to fight me when I was pregnant. I don't see why she would treat my daughter as her own, or him, if he's never bothered to care for her.
Do you have any safety concerns with your address or phone number being in the court order?
Not really.
I'll pass the witness. The state calls the father Mr. Lee. Will you please state your name?
Jimmy Lee.
Okay. And Mr. Lee, did you hear those agreements I read out in the beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you still agree with those terms?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you employed right now?
I am not currently employed, and she said I worked in construction. I never worked construction in my life, so I don't know where she gets her
Okay. When
her
is the last time you had a job?
Close to about 2 months. I've been trying to look for everywhere. I apply a lot of places.
And so what was your last job?
My last job was at a dealership. We worked based on commission.
Like a car dealership?
Yes, it's more like how do I say, like a wholesale dealership. But the market dropped a lot. So they had to let me go.
And that was about 2 months ago?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what were you earning at that job?
Maybe like the last one I had like maybe $700. $700.
Was that per month or per paycheck?
Per paycheck.
Okay, and how often were you paid?
It'll be varied. It could be like bi-weekly, sometime like a week and a half.
And you were solely on commission?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think you can get a job in the future similar in pay to that job?
Can you say it again? I didn't hear you.
Do you think any job in the future you can get will be in similar pay to that job?
I'm hoping to find, a better job that pays more.
And does your family have a company that you could work for?
They do not.
Have they ever had a company that you worked for?
My mom used to have a nail shop, but that was years ago.
And do you live in Dallas County?
I stay in Hunt County.
Okay. And what kind of visitation schedule do you want with Caitlin?
Whatever I'm allowed with.
So if the court granted a standard possession schedule where you'd have every first, third, and fifth weekend of the month, would you be in agreement to that?
And what day again?
The first, third, and fifth weekends of each month.
Okay.
Do you live within 50 miles of Miss Herrera or more than that?
I don't know where she stays exactly.
So there's two options. The regular standard schedule has you having the first, third, and fifth weekends of each month, starting Fridays at 6 p.m. until Sundays at 6 p.m. The other option is where you do the same weekends, but you'd pick up at school on Friday, then bring back to school on Monday morning. Do you have a preference?
I can do Friday and Sunday.
Okay, so Friday at 6 p.m. until Sunday at 6 p.m. you're okay with?
Yes, because I also have to drop off my other daughter at school as well, so I can't drop off two at the same time.
And then that also includes every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Are you okay with that?
Thursday from, you said 6?
Yes.
Um,
So that would be in there if you want to exercise it. You don't have to, but it would be an option.
that's fine.
Okay. Do you have any safety concerns with your address or phone number being printed in the court order?
No, ma'am.
All right. I'll pass the witness.
Give me just a moment. Mr. Detta, you said that you did not have a problem with him knowing your address, correct?
That's fine.
Okay, go ahead and read out your address, please.
It is 2902 Reynolds Avenue, Dallas, Texas, 75223.
Mr. Lee, go ahead and read out your address.
Ma'am, can you repeat your?
All right, hold on, Mr. Lee. Say it a little slower so we can write that down.
2902 Reynolds Avenue, Dallas, Texas, 75223.
Randall's?
Reynolds, as in like the foil paper, Reynolds.
Can you spell it, please?
REYNOLDS.
Okay. Mr. Lee, if you can read slowly your address as well.
1925 Elderberry Street, Roy City, Texas 75189.
Okay. All right, I'll make approving the agreement y'all made. I don't understand why we're having problems with visitation. We need to have visitation immediately. We should have done this 2 years ago. It sounds like there are personal issues as to why y'all didn't do it. Obviously, Mr. Lee was married. That's probably the biggest issue because Ms. Herrera, you were the other woman. Maybe he was separated or breaking up with her at the time. I don't know. I'm not trying to get into all your personal business, but makes sense to me that his wife would not want Mr. Lee to see you because he know what that means, that he might also have sex with you. So I think that's probably part of the reason maybe Mr. Lee didn't visit, as well as other reasons. I don't need to go into more detail than that, but it just makes sense that that's kind of why it happened. It's very unfortunate because we lost 2 years and now we've got to kind of piece it together. But we still have another 16 years or more of relationship with the child. And that's what we need to establish here as soon as we can. In a year or two, you're going to leave your child with a stranger for 8, 9 hours a day when the child goes to school. Mr. Lee shouldn't be a stranger. He's the father of his child and he needs to be actively involved. And if he has other children, then they need to be with their siblings. Sounds like they're probably about the same age and they probably would have a lot of fun together, absent y'all having your personal issues with each other. So
Sir.
I'm doing kind of a phased-in visitation so that we don't have a shock and have a whole weekend. We're going to do phased-in visitation for 2 weekends on a Saturday, first, third, and fifth Saturdays from 12 to 4 p.m. for 2 visits. That's unsupervised. So Mr. Lee, you'll be going to Mr. Eda's residence at 12 o'clock on that Saturday. Bring the child back at 4 o'clock that same Saturday. And then also every Thursday from 6 to 8 as well every week. That'll be for 2 visits. When you complete 2 visits, then we're going to accelerate to 12 to 6 p.m. again on Saturdays, first, third, and fifth Saturdays until you finish 2 more visits. So we're doing kind of like 4 visits all together before we're doing the whole weekend. The weekend visitation will be Friday at 6 until Sunday at 6. I cannot speculate that this other lady is going to harm your child, ma'am. I cannot believe that people would want to harm children. Although I know there are people that do that. You cannot assume just because she may not like that her husband cheated on her, that she's somehow also gonna hurt a child. Your child doesn't belong to you. A child is not a possession. They're a human. They need to have both parents. So I know you may not agree with that, but Mr. Lee needs to exercise visitation and you need to get out of the way so that your child can benefit from that. You may not like that, but your child is definitely going to like that. And there's no convincing me that it's going to be anything different than that. Mr. Lee, I understand you may have issues with your wife and she may have issues with this whole situation, but you have
I
a
talked to
conversation with her. Excuse me, I'm talking. You need to have a conversation with her and set the ground rules here that the only reason you're talking to Ms. Herrera is to have your visitation, because you still need to be able to communicate with her, even though you may not be with her or, things like that. She needs to get past any issues she may personally have with you being with another woman when the time you were married. You have a child, you need to make sure she stays out of the way and that you two are the only people that make decisions regarding your child. Mr. Lee, I want you to visit. I don't want your wife to tell you not to visit or for her to also be another barrier that y'all already have into this whole thing. Y'all got to figure some of these things out. Unfortunately, y'all didn't figure them out before today, and we've lost 2 years. There are a lot of issues that y'all have, but the child is innocent in this whole thing and wants to have a father in their life. So that's going to benefit your child. So let's make sure that gets going as soon as possible. Now, obviously, baby's going to cry, not want to go. That doesn't mean that they don't want to visit with their dad. Okay, they just don't want to go from where they are. That eventually, and it'll be very quick, they'll want to go with dad. So don't take that as a judgment that the child somehow has made an adult decision at 2 years old that they don't want to visit. That's not what that is. Okay, that's why I'm kind of doing the phased in a little bit to help a little, but really I want to get into the weekend visitation immediately if I could. So we're kind of having those 4 visits there to kind of start off a little slower and then get there because we should have done this 2 years ago. All right, the Attorney General's office will draft an order with all of that in there. The payments will be paid through the child support office. I don't have any evidence that he's making different money than that. I wish you were a Dallas County resident so I could order you into the Choices program so they can help you find a job, but that's only for Dallas County residents, and obviously you don't live in Dallas County, because that probably definitely would have helped all the way around to get more income and also more child support. If you become employed, you need to inform the Attorney General's office immediately so they can send out a withholding order to take it out of your check. And until then, you have to send in payments yourself to the Attorney General's office, not to Ms. Herrera, so that they can keep track of any payments you may have. You are both done with court. You can press leave on the Zoom to exit out. Thank you.